item of business is to consider resolution number R-1595. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
Resolution R-1595, a resolution to televise public commentary created by amending resolution number 7669. That concludes your reading, Mayor. You can entertain a motion and a second to adopt, and have discussion if any.
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt? Do we have a motion to adopt? Is there a second? It fails by lack of a motion. Those of you who did come for that, part of this resolution that we already have says that it's not, if you signed up to sign to it and we don't discuss it, you can use the untelevised portion of the comment section after to make a comment. So if you want to stay for that. Next we have the Board of Directors comments, and I would like to ask Elaine if you have talked with anyone about the televised comment section since we received a letter on May 15th. Have you talked to any of the other board members about that?
Of course not.
Have you, Suzanne? Becca? Mr. Fale, have you talked with any of the other board members about the televised? Mr. Raymond?
No.
Okay. I just wanted to make it clear that we didn't discuss it out of the room because we were asked to discuss the issue as a board, so we have had no discussion.
We're not
There were
supposed to.
questions at the agenda
At the
meetings
agenda
in terms of what the alternatives were. So we did have some discussion, but that was public,
That was
right?
connection.
So to that
I
extent,
just
the
wondered
answer
if there was
is
discussion about it.
I would say this, Mayor Carney, I did receive 2 emails on this subject, one for and one against.
I received 2 emails, both against.
I received 2 vote against.
All right. Now we have director's comments. Do you have any comments? Okay, do you have any other announcements?
I do have a question. The question that you asked of each of the board members seemed really rather innocuous. And there is an assumption by the board members that we are expected to meet publicly on issues rather than privately. So to ask that in public implies that perhaps this is going on. And I really object to that unless at each issue, each member is asked if they met with any other directors to discuss the issue before we bring it to the board. Like I said, it seemed innocuous, but it was very uncomfortable because of the way it is with the ramifications of the perception of it. And so I want to just register my objection to the question because I think it's more than innocuous. I think it's much more profound than people would be led to believe because it attacks the integrity of each of the board members. And so with that, I stand to object to the question.
And I will explain the reason I asked it was that I've not been included in several discussions, and evidently it was somehow decided that no one would, make a motion to accept it or a second it so that it could even come to the floor. So it seems like it's been orchestrated from.
Mayor, we've discussed this ad nauseum.
Yeah, I told you at the agenda meeting, that's and I voted for that.
No, we were just asked to have a public discussion about it, which will not happen. That's okay.
We've already had one. Well, we had 2.
Not since the letter that we received requiring us to do that.
Well, they have ample.
There was a letter from a law firm.
Not requiring us to do anything.
It was a demand
Because it
letter.
didn't actually speak to what we actually have. Because residents do have opportunities to speak to all items related to the agenda. And then I went back and read about the comments, public commentary where it was added in 2011, and that portion was for comments related to city issues.
Right.
And
And I have a
A lot of them
disc
are.
with 2 years of those that you can watch, and you will see that each one of them were related to city business.
But
Well, we're all trying to play fair here, so could we get the opinion of council council as to the appropriateness of that so-called demand letter. I mean, anybody can get up and say, I think you've interpreted the law incorrectly, and therefore I demand that you change your actions. And we don't practice law, we talk a lot like we think we know it, but you're the only one that does, so could you address that for us?
Sure. The letter that was sent to the mayor and to the other members of the board was essentially a request for a demand. It's fine if you want to phrase it that way. It wasn't an order from a court, it was from a lawyer asking you to reconsider your position on the telecast of the public commentary period. As we've discussed on many times, this board speaks through its vote. You can discuss it, you can kick it around, which you did do last Tuesday, beyond my comfort level, since it wasn't a business meeting. But in any event, when you vote, that's how you speak. You say yes or no on an issue through your vote. When the issue was put on the agenda, which the mayor sets the agenda, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it being on the agenda. But if it's not something that Director Fale wants to endorse, he doesn't have to make a motion. If Director Ramick doesn't want to endorse it, he doesn't have to make a motion. Okay? So it doesn't take a meeting outside the confines of the public arena in violation of the FOIA, Director Fale to decide he doesn't want to make a motion. Or the Director Ramick doesn't want to make a motion. And all the way around. So,
I think it's just in honor of the citizens that requested that we at least discuss it, but that's okay, we don't have to.
we weren't requested by a citizen. We
No.
received a demand letter from a lawyer from the state of Texas.
We don't even have to have this televised at all. That's up to us, the board.
You're right.
Except this discussion right now, it's
That's
continuing.
out of order.
I'm just gonna remind you, I see the on the air light, so.
That's okay. What are we trying to hide from the citizens of our city that are at home wondering what in the world we're doing? I mean, why do we need to hide it from them? I don't
Nobody is hiding
understand.
anything there, and to imply that we are hiding anything is inappropriate.
Well, it's inappropriate to say we're on the air, we don't want anybody to hear us, it's on television, so.
You said that.
I just did, I look at,
He said that.
we are going on here, as if, we think, some of us, that the meeting's already adjourned and we're still talking.
Yeah,
So,
it's not
anyway.
adjourned. This is Board of Directors comments section,
Yes.
that's what we're doing.
Yeah, which is going on a little too long, I think.
Okay. Okay, and immediately following adjournment tonight, we will have a public commentary section, and we'll hang on a few minutes, we'll turn that off, and it'll come right back on.
I move we adjourn.
Second. Is there a second? We have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Rick is asleep.
No, not too
I
hard.
was ready. Very good.
All this means we got more work. We're gonna find a case. I don't know what it is. We'll keep working on it.
Okay. Drew Terry.
Drew Terry, 315 Oliver Circle. And I think I said the same thing maybe 2 years ago, whenever this was implemented. You know, my father was in World War II. And then my husband was in the Army in the Korean time. And I just always thought that, you know, they signed up for be in the Army for freedom and freedom of speech. So I never could quite understand why we just couldn't continue on, because even with like a little person speaking, sometimes they will give a jewel of something that maybe someone else hears that would be, well, the answer to a problem that we have, or a new kind of thought. And when you look at history sometimes, it's the little person that gets up sometimes and says something that is an answer, or somebody's mind just, that is an answer or an invention, or all kinds of things. So I just, one or two share and say, I really think that we should all have freedom of speech, and why not have it televised? There's maybe someone out there that needs to hear something. Thank you.
Thank you. Lance Alban?
She said it better than I could say it, so I'm gonna forego it.
Pardon?
She said exactly what I was gonna say, so I'm
Did
gonna
she?
forego it, yeah.
Oh, okay, well, thank
Thank
you. Okay. Bob Driggers?
Thank you. You know, it's taken us a long time to get where we are tonight. Someone mentioned it a couple of years. And we've been through circuit court, citizens against your board. It was appealed to the Court of Appeals. It's been to the state Supreme Court. And your board lost every one of those. Why? Because you violated state laws. But you continue to violate federal law. And it's not just the law, it's the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. The televising of the public commentary section was stopped because a couple of people on your board didn't like what someone said. Well, I've got news for you. I disagreed 100% with what that person said myself. But he certainly had the right to say it. What you did by removing public comments was censorship, pure and simple. That is the worst possible kind of violation of freedom of speech. There's been numerous justices from the United States Supreme Court that have said as much. Easy to find. Now, we have done everything possible to avoid litigation. And the law firm from Texas is not just a law firm from Texas, it's the National Center for Life and Liberty. Have a fantastic record of protecting people's rights and liberties, especially the First Amendment, the right of freedom of speech. You know, we hate to do this because when the public fights City Hall, we're fighting ourselves. We all lose. It's our money against our tax money. But the board has a tendency to spend that tax money way too easily. And Ms. Terry was 100% right. You're trampling on a precious right. People died for that right to have freedom of speech in this country, and for the Constitution and all it stands for and all the amendments. So I'll ask you also, what are you trying to hide? What the heck are you trying to hide? What you're doing is disgraceful. You're trampling on the Constitution, and those of you tonight, in my humble opinion, who didn't offer a second to the motion are a disgrace to your office.
Thank you, sir. Melissa Glenn?
Hi, good evening. I was going to say thank you for letting me have an opportunity to speak on the resolution of this amendment on television, but now I don't get to say that. I am at 330 Quapaw Avenue. I believe is that your area? No? Suzanne. And unfortunately, two of the directors have left, so I don't know if that's maybe another concern, not just being televised, but not being able to address it to my director since she did leave. I know it's probably for a good reason. But I believe that the meeting of this board is very valuable. I believe that also equally valuable is this part of the public commentary to be available to the public. I don't believe that either should be neglected by not allowing it to be televised to the public. This is an opportunity for the public to speak on items of concern not on the board's agenda, and by, well, I have to change it, but if you have, or if you do eventually consider this and you vote on this, I believe you're expressing your value to the concerns of the citizens like myself and others, and to the citizens of Hot Springs. This was a right that was already provided and then was taken away. It could easily appear to be censorship, and I do believe it is a violation of freedom of speech. So I ask you to reconsider this, and next time maybe my director can make a motion, somebody can second it, we can have some more commentary, talk about it, whatever it needs to look like, that I have the right to speak to you and have it publicized and have all my directors here. I would have spoken to this if I had known it before, and if you need someone as a citizen to request this to be on the board instead of an attorney or whatever the law letter was, then my name is Melissa Glenn. I'm at 330 Quapaw, and I'm requesting you to consider this. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Jones.
Hi, my name is Susan Jones, and I live at 907 West St. Louis Street. And first thing I would like to do is thank those of you who stayed. And I think that's one of the things that we, as part of the people of Hot Springs, would love to see is that it tends to be sometimes when things are televised, because of the appearance of it, people tend to stay and listen. But when it's not televised, people feel like they can get up and leave. But then they don't, as far as they're people who think that they're listening to what we have to say, don't realize that their representatives didn't care. And that's heartbreaking, because it makes us feel unimportant, makes us feel like we're not valued by the board, and therefore makes us feel as if we're not actually helping make decisions in Hot Springs. It doesn't matter what the citizens might feel, and I realize that each one of you said that you've maybe gotten 2, and one was for and one was against, and some got 2 and they were both against. But I think those of us who came tonight wanted to do more than just send a letter. We wanted it seen that if we do have a concern, that you care and that you listen. And I'm like Melissa, I did not realize that it was a matter of, how many had requested it as to whether or not you would listen to us. And, there's times when I've totally agreed with the board. There's times when I totally disagreed with the board. I want to thank each one of you for answering when Mayor Carney said, have you had discussion? And I am sorry that it felt like an attack. When she asked, it kind of gave me an affirmation that each person didn't mind answering because no one was guilty. And so, I appreciated the fact that she asked each individual, did you do what you were asked to do? And, sometimes it's uncomfortable for us to answer those questions, but it's important for us and our conscience to be clear so that those we're representing understand. And I just would like to say that, there are people who, like Drew said, who maybe are small people but would hear something that would confirm what they're thinking. But there's also times when we might state a concern we don't have an answer for, but someone listening on TV would have something to offer that might solve that solution, such, try this to right and left. I mean, we just ask that you listen, and we would like to know that, other people in the community get the same opportunity to hear our concerns and maybe help find a solution for what it is that we're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Jones.
Doug Jones, 907 West St. Louis. Let me just say that there's a verse of scripture that speaks to this point. It's 1 Thessalonians 5:22. It says, abstain from all appearance of evil. And that's critical in the ministry. I think it's critical in politics as well. When you do what you did tonight, you kind of give a shroud of evil, whether it's there or not. I believe it's important that we reinstitute the public comment section because there's ideas out there that will come before this body that you may be able to develop to become heroes over. We were in Oklahoma City some time ago, and there was I was flipping through channels, and I happened to come across a city council meeting, so I said, I'll watch this a little bit, and they had a public commentary section on it toward the end. And one of the comments was talking about Riverwalk and some of the things that they could do to improve that. And as I was listening to that, I said, man, that's a great idea. That's something we could use in Hot Springs. You know, there's been a time or two here that when we had the televised session, that we were able to pick up some ideas from other people that were on that, and we're able to connect and maybe develop some ideas where we might be able to make maybe the downtown area a little bit more vibrant and beneficial for our city. But you stifle the ideas when you don't allow the public to speak. You say, well, they can email me, or they can make phone calls to me, or something along that line, but you're just one person. And a lot of times trying to connect with you, there's been some that said they don't even check their emails. So, you know, bottom line is, if we're trying to convey some thought to you, we may not be on the same page, but others outside might be on the same page, and might have a better way of addressing it, which would give you a better idea of what to do. The public, you know, we voted to put you in position to hear us. And when you say that we're going to stifle you during a public comment session, that basically is telling the public, we don't care what you think. And what a shame for that to be the case. I can't think of anything better than to say, you know what, you're right. We need to listen to the public. We need to hear what they have to say. I remember Lance mentioned at one time that if the public wants to talk about green beans, they don't have the right to talk about green beans. Well, you just said you don't have a right to talk about green beans. And I think that you need to reconsider this and come back and follow what the lawsuit said, to be honest with you. Said reinstate it, so reinstate it.
Thank you. Harry, go next.
To the mayor and the board, I have a question. Why not public commentary? City directors, why not? Why did you want to avoid the Freedom of Information Act? Every person in Hot Springs, Arkansas has a right to speak about issues that come up in this board, issues that come up anywhere in Hot Springs, Arkansas that has to do with the citizenship and rights of everybody. It's like when I was a pastor in Sevier County and Pulaski County, I had the right to speak against the ministry of any pastor in another county, because I am a citizen of Hot Springs, Arkansas. I am a person on planet Earth, made by God and a sinner. So I'm asking you to reconsider your thoughts, reconsider your opinions of others. To me, there are no little I's and big U's on planet Earth. And in Hot Springs, Arkansas, because that you are on this board, because you are directing us, and because we do have a city manager, a mayor, and a city attorney, that does not give them the right to disregard no one. If they get up here and curse somebody out, they have the right, and also the police have the right to ask them to be quiet, ask them to leave. So my asking is that you consider what you have said and let commentary be open for television. Thank you.